Alyssa's POV. That flight seemed to go quickly, I said with excitement, my eyes on the view outside the window as we were about to land. You could say it flew by? Travis asked, nudging me with a wide grin on his lips. Get it? Sure, I get it, I responded with a laugh, still taking in the exotic views of the crystal blue ocean as we approached land. Where are we? Welcome to the Caribbean, my love, Travis said, wrapping his arm around me as he joined me in enjoying the view outside. What do you think? The Caribbean? I gasped. Are you serious? It looks beautiful. Not as beautiful as my view, Travis said, his exhale staggered, and it was then I realized his eyes were on the window any longer. Oh, I said, feeling my cheeks flush pink from his compliments. I can't wait to get off the plane and explore. I felt the excitement grow within me. Are we staying in a hotel or a holiday home? It looks hot out there. What's the temperature? Do I need sunscreen? So many questions whirled around my mind. I wanted to know everything there was to know about this trip. Travis laughed. I adore how excited you get by things, he said, running his fingers gently down my hair. We still have a bit to travel before we get to our destination, but it will be worth it, darling. The plane landed so gently. I barely felt it touch the ground, and as we approached the airport, I felt the excitement build even more inside me. I was feeling like I could explode. Welcome to our destination, Alicia said as she arrived at our side. Your car is waiting at your usual pickup point, Your Majesty. She paused and switched her gaze to me. I hope you have the most amazing time, and I'll see you both again on your return flight. Your car? I asked, raising a brow to Travis. Your usual pickup point? Do you bring all your dates here, Travis Darlington? Travis laughed. You're the first one, he grinned. I usually come here solo. I like to spend some time alone to relax. I can see why, I said, taking in the breathtaking scenery from the window as we came to a halt. We're not even out of the plane yet, and this is the best holiday I've ever had. Travis laughed. We'll hopefully have a smooth journey to our destination, and then we can fully enjoy ourselves. Travis managed to maneuver his way through this airport with ease. It was smaller than the airport we left from, so we got to the car in no time. The drive seemed short. As we left the airport, it was a short stretch to another port. This one was by the water, and to my surprise, we took a small boat across to our destination. We've taken every single form of transport today, it seems, I said, feeling the wind in my hair as we sped across the water. The ocean was calm, and we glided along with ease. This really was paradise. All I needed now was a sweet cocktail to make this scenario perfect. It looks that way, Travis said. Can you see it yet? He seemed to look over on the horizon. We're getting close. I followed Travis's eye line and spotted another piece of land ahead. This seemed smaller in size, much smaller, and as we closed in on it, I realized it was an island. This island? I asked. Is this where we're staying? Travis nodded. Haven't you noticed that we're the only passengers on this boat? As Travis said these words, I looked around and studied my surroundings. I was so enamored by what was in front of us. I didn't take in what was around us, and that was no one. We were the only people on this boat. Not a popular place, huh? I asked, twisting my face slightly. At least it will be quiet. Travis laughed. You're cute. He paused, and as we reached the land and began to dock, I felt Travis's arm wrap around my waist and he pulled me in. This is my very own private island, so it will just be the two of us, he paused. And my staff, of course. Private island? I asked, my voice cracking as I spoke the words with disbelief. This is your own island? My jaw felt as though it would fall onto the ground with the realization of our holiday destination. It sure is, Travis said with a grin. Well, technically it's my parents' island, but I visit it the most, he paused. It's great to just come here and relax for a few days, to escape reality. I watched ahead of us as the bat docked. It looks like paradise, Travis, I said with a gasp. This is ours, just us two for a week. All ours, Travis said, pulling me in tightly. Just you and me together with no disruptions, he paused. I can't wait for you to see the house. You'll love it. I'm still trying to recover from the fact you have this place of our own, I said, getting myself seated back into the wheelchair as Travis began to push me down the ramp and onto the dock. Next, you'll tell me you have a toilet outside looking onto the ocean. Well, Travis laughed. Are you sure you haven't been here before? Oh my God, I grinned. Is there a hot tub too? Please tell me there's a hot tub. Hot tub, swimming pool, a bar. Travis paused. It's paradise, perfect for my beautiful wife who deserves the best luxuries. This isn't real, I said, my eyes ahead as I took in the view. This has to be a dream. You're wide awake, my love, Travis said, and it was then I noticed two people approaching us. Travis stopped us in his tracks to greet them. Henry, Rachel, Travis paused. This is Alyssa, my gorgeous wife. Henry and Rachel began to fuss over me. I wasn't used to this much personal attention. They seemed nice, though, and I assumed they were part of Travis's staff. Welcome, Alyssa, how beautiful you are, Henry said with a grin. It's a pleasure to meet you. Travis has told us all about you. We've taken your luggage to the house, Rachel said. Just take some time to relax and we'll send the chef to prepare your evening meal. Chef? I asked with a squeak to my voice. It's nice to meet you both, too, I said with excitement. I just knew I was about to have the honeymoon of a lifetime. Travis's POV. Oh my goddess! Alyssa beamed as we entered the house. This is a dream. I watched as her eyes studied my summer home. The vast space of the minimalist interior was stunning at first glance. Seeing Alyssa this happy really made me feel my heart warm with the love I felt for her. I'm so happy you're here, Alyssa, I said, steadying the wheelchair as I helped Alyssa out of the chair. I'll give you a full tour, but I want you to relax first. We've had a busy day. Alyssa nodded as she smiled at me. What do you propose we do to relax? Her voice turned silken as she slid her hand down my chest, teetering on my hips as she stroked my belt. Well, I said, clearing my throat through my nerves, how about we climb into the hot tub? I'll have Rachel fetch us some drinks while we soak and watch the sunset. He paused with a smirk playing on his lips. You haven't seen a sunset like this. It's stunning. If I can keep my eyes off another stunning vision tonight, Alyssa said, a glint in her eye, and I could feel my stomach tumble with excitement. Leading Alyssa outside to the patio at the back of the house, the sun was already low in the sky. It felt warm on my skin, and the reflection of the low sun sparkled on the surface of the ocean. Why don't you get your swimwear on, and we can relax, I said, my eyes studying Alyssa's body as I imagined what her stunning body would look like in her swimwear. I'll call Rachel to organize the drinks. Alyssa smirked. Do we have to wear clothes in the tub? Another cheeky glint in her eye. If it's just the two of us on this island, there's no need to hide ourselves. My throat tightened and I felt my pulse race as I watched Alyssa remove her clothing. She slipped off her trousers, stepping out of them. Following closely by pulling her shirt over her head, Alyssa tossed that to the ground with the rest of her clothing. Removing her underwear carefully, I felt my face become hot from arousal as she stood there naked before me. Her body was so beautiful, her curves begged for my fingers to caress them. Alyssa appeared like a goddess before me, and I felt like the luckiest man on earth that she was my wife. Are you still with me, Travis? Alyssa asked with a giggle. You seem distracted. You're just so stunning, I husked, a lump forming in my throat. I loved this woman so much and wanted nothing more than my body to be close to hers, to feel the heat of our skin together as we made love. It was then Alyssa moved over toward the hot tub, her hips wiggling seductively as I watched her perfectly curved backside taunt me with her sexiness. Alyssa climbed into the hot tub, and I watched as the water cascaded over her naked flesh. Are you coming in? Alyssa asked, taunting me with her finger as she gestured to me to come join her. You bet I am, I said eagerly. I pulled my clothes off clumsily, not as sexy as Alyssa had removed hers. I was so desperate to join my wife, be close to her in the hot tub, and enjoy her body if she so wished. I made my way over to the hot tub, my eyes connected with Alyssa with every step I took. As I climbed in, my eyes were still on Alyssa's body, which now teased me being covered in the warm, bubbling water. Well, you're not so bad yourself, Alyssa said, biting her lip gently as she studied my body. It appears someone is rather excited, Alyssa said. I noticed her cheeks blushing pink, and she tried to keep from watching my excitement build further. Can you blame me? I asked, sinking into the water as I joined Alyssa. I'm married to the woman of my dreams, and you're so beautiful, I can't stand it. I paused, pushing myself closer to Alyssa. I want you to feel your body on mine. I husked as I spoke my words. I want to make you feel more amazing than you've ever felt before. I want that too, Travis. Alyssa said in return, I've wanted you for so long, you have no idea. Her cheeks burned now, turning pink as I felt her desperation for me through her expression. But we should wait. Why? I asked, disappointment in my voice. I mean, I don't want to rush you, of course. Whenever you're ready. Sorry, that was too forceful of me. Alyssa giggled as she drew closer to me. Our lips met, and the kiss she gave me was so gentle, I could taste and enjoy the sweetness of her lips. I don't feel pressured, my love, Alyssa said, pulling away from the kiss. I just kind of figured if Rachel was turning up to make our drinks, the last thing she wants to see is our love-making, she giggled, pressing her lips against me once more. You've got a point, I said, feeling happier than Alyssa wasn't repulsed by my nakedness and changed her mind. I don't want to scare my staff off. I would hardly say you would scare her off, Alyssa said, running her hands through my hair as she planted another kiss on my lips. I just don't want anyone else wanting you. You're mine. A feral look shimmered in her eyes, and I could tell in this moment how much Alyssa wanted me. I'm yours, and only yours, I said, running my hands across the curves of Alyssa's body beneath the water. No one else can have me. I belong to you. And I belong to you, my love. Alyssa said in return, We are fated to be, you and I. She caressed my face delicately as her eyes focused on my intently destiny. I could feel my heart now pounding in my chest. I wanted Alyssa so badly, but I knew we had to wait until Rachel had been and gone. I also had to tell myself to be gentle with Alyssa. She was already more delicate with her being a human, but she was injured too. Alyssa's POV. Your Majesty? A voice called from inside the house, startling the both of us as we snapped out of our daze of becoming lost inside one another. Are you around? All of a sudden, Rachel appeared through the large glass double doors and stepped out onto the patio. In her hand balanced a tray with 2 cocktails on the top. It didn't take her long to realize what she had walked into, and her face changed expression quickly. Rachel's skin fell pale with embarrassment. Oh crap, she exclaimed. Did I interrupt something? Her eyes widened as she seemed mortified. I can come back. Travis laughed, his hands now beneath the water as he grabbed my hips, stopping the motion as I made love to him. We're just cuddling, he said, a playful smirk on his lips. That's all. I felt my cheeks redden with embarrassment, but I enjoyed the sensation of being caught doing something so devious, yet acting like we were just embracing one another. Very well, Rachel smiled as she seemed to relax. I'm glad I didn't catch you up to anything. That would have been awkward, right? She set the drinks down on the shelf at the side of the hot tub. I've made you 2 strawberry daiquiris, she said. Just shout me when you need more. I'll just be inside. Thanks, Rach, Travis said. They looked delicious, turning his lips to my ear. He husked his words carefully to me. Not as delicious as you, though, he purred, and I felt my entire body shudder with pleasure once more. His words were too much. The look in Travis's eyes in this moment were pure feral and passionate. I could tell how much my husband needed to feel me, his begging gaze aching for me to pleasure myself onto him. It was then I couldn't stand it any longer. I felt myself releasing, unable to control it any longer. I knew I was going to scream, but I couldn't alert Rachel. I didn't wish to embarrass myself or Travis's POV. The next morning arrived, and as I opened my eyes, I had the sensation of not realizing where I was at first. I imagined I would wake in my own bedroom at home, but a wave of satisfaction washed over me when I remembered I was on my own private island, waking up next to the love of my life. This was the life I wanted, the life I had dreamt about. It was finally coming true, and I couldn't help but daydream about the future for Alyssa and I. We had so many adventures to look forward to, but at the moment we had to live in the now. Rolling over, I wrapped my arm around Alyssa and pulled her body into me. Her backside fit neatly into the nook of my hips, and I could feel her warmth. Nuzzling Alyssa's hair, I inhaled her scent gently. This was the first time we had woken up together, and I felt happier than ever at this moment. It was perfect. How happy are you right now? Clayton asked, heading into the forefront of my mind. On a scale of 1 to 10, he chuckled. 100, I said with a deep sigh as I nuzzled into Alyssa some more. This feels like a dream, as though I'm going to wake up any moment alone. I have finally found the love of my life, and I'm never letting her go. This is no dream, Travis, Clayton said. This is reality. Enjoy it while you can. While I can? I asked with interest. What do you mean by that? What's with all the doom and gloom all of a sudden, Clayton? Clayton paused before releasing a sigh, and I watched him pace around my mind in frustration. I have a feeling that Derek is still alive, a funny sensation niggling my mind. Don't be stupid, Wolf, I spat my words. Derek is dead. I saw him being ripped to shreds before my eyes. There is no way he could survive the strength of my guards, I paused. You need to forget about him. But, Clayton husked with frustration, Travis, I just have this feeling. I knew I had to cut my wolf off now, as rude as that seemed. I couldn't have him overthinking something ridiculous and spoiling my time with Alyssa. Clayton, Derek is gone. He isn't returning. I paused. Stop worrying, I beg of you. I just want to enjoy my honeymoon with my wife. We both deserve it. Very well, Clayton responded, surrendering his silly ideas, and I watched him disappear toward the back of my mind once more. Sorry to bother you, Travis. I shall remain silent while you're on your honeymoon. He paused before releasing a heavy sigh. Just promise me you will watch both of your backs. I promise, I said, without commitment, as I knew that I had no reason to look out for anyone now. Derek was gone, torn to shreds by my guards, and there was no need for any worry. Morning, gorgeous. Alyssa purred in my ear. What a nice feeling to wake up to. Good morning, beautiful, I said, planting gentle kisses on her neck as I pulled Alyssa's hair to the side to reveal her silken flesh. Did you sleep well? I did, she responded, her voice gentle as she spoke. I had a dream about you. It was quite sexy. Oh? I asked, watching as Alyssa turned around in my arms. Now facing me, I watched her eyes glisten with mischief as she remembered her dream. Tell me more. Was I a bad boy? You were a very naughty boy, she responded with a purr in her tone. But how about instead of telling you about my dream, I show you? I love that idea, I said, feeling my heart race quicker as I awaited Alyssa's next actions as she wanted to act out her dream. I couldn't wait. This woman was everything I needed, and the fact she felt the same about me was incredible in itself. Alyssa's POV. I feel stronger today, I said to Travis as we linked arms, taking ourselves down the path which lead to the beach. And I think it's because of you. That's sweet, Travis smiled, pulling me into him. I'm glad you're feeling a bit better. It's great to see you're able to walk further. He paused. But I hardly think I'm the reason for you feeling stronger. Don't be so hard on yourself, my love, I said, squeezing Travis's arm slightly as I leaned into him. Your positivity keeps me going. You have no idea the impact you have on me, Travis. You're incredible. As are you, Alyssa, Travis responded gently. There's no one I would rather be on this island with than you. The conversation fell silent as we approached the beach. The blue ocean went on forever, as far as I could see, and as I kicked my shoes off, I felt the soft golden sand sink between my toes. This is gorgeous. I grinned as my eyes shifted to Travis. Can we relax here for a little while? Of course, Alyssa, Travis responded. That was my plan anyway. It's so relaxing here. As we walked across the sand, I could feel the warmth on my bare feet after the sun had heated up the soft ground. There's something we need to discuss, Travis said. He released his arm from mine and took my hand, our fingers entwining together as we walked. We need to talk about us. What about us? I asked, tilting my head slightly as I felt confused as to what Travis was getting at. As far as I was concerned, we were happy and already settled into each other's lives. Is everything okay, Travis? You're worrying me. Travis stopped in his tracks, and it was then I realized we had approached a spot with 2 tall palm trees. A hammock was tied between the trees, and Travis gestured for us to nestle into it. I sunk into the hammock, Travis's arm wrapped around me as he pulled me closer into him. We began to gently rock, our eyes focused on the horizon where the ocean met the sky and the sunlight shimmered on the surface of the blue. I want to be with you more than anything in the world, and I want you to be my queen, Travis said, a deep sigh resonating on his breath. But I also don't want to hinder you with your plans. Hinder me? I asked, a frown forming on my brow as I spoke. How do you mean? All my plans from now on involve you. When we first met, you told me that you wanted to leave the kingdom and return to the humans, back to your old life and your family, Travis said, reiterating what I said truthfully. I did, I said honestly. That's what I wanted, to be away from this place and Derek. I paused, thinking back to that time where I was miserable. I had no idea things would change, though. Falling for the Alpha King wasn't in my schedule at all. But that was before we met, before I fell so deeply in love with you. My eyes wandered Travis's face to judge any hint in his expression on how he really felt in this moment. I don't want to be holding you back. I want you to go back to your human life, spend time with your family and start over, he said weakly. I can compromise, I said willingly. I love you so much, Travis. I don't want to be away from you long term. I paused, aching to get through to Travis on how much I wanted to be with him. I can stay with you in the kingdom, but still spend some weekends with my family. I can't let you do that, Travis said with regret in his voice as he spoke. I can't make you change your future. That would be wrong of me. You had your heart set on returning to your old life, and I can't let you change your mind because of me. What are you saying, Travis? I asked, feeling the frustration rise inside me. It kind of feels like you're leaving me. Is that it now? You had your fun, we had some great sex, and now you're done with me? Tears began to well in my eyes, worried that Travis had just used me. It's not like that, Travis sighed, his gaze shifting as he met my gaze. I could see the emotion in his eyes, glazing over with his own tears. I love you, and I want us to be together forever. He paused. But what, Travis? I asked, frustration shaking my voice as I wiped away a tear which trickled down my cheek. You're not making any sense now. You either want to be with me, build a life together with me, or not at all. I don't know, Travis sighed. I'm trying to make sense of it all myself. He paused. I just don't want to ruin your plans. I'm not worth staying in the kingdom for, if that's not what you want. I just want you to be happy. I began to allow my tears to fall freely now, and I felt my throat tighten from my emotion as it stung with pain. I am happy, so very happy with you, I said, my words shaking from the fear of losing Travis. I love you so much. All I see in my future now is you. You're all I want, more than anything in this entire universe. Are you sure? Travis asked. I don't want to take you away from being with your family. I don't want to be a burden on you. I could sense the insecurities coming from Travis now, and I knew what he was thinking. Travis was scared of losing me, so much that he wanted me to make a decision on my future without any thought for himself. This made me love Travis even more. He was so selfless and always concerned about my future that he was willing to remain unhappy without me if I wanted to continue my plan to return to the human world in a year. You are so silly, I said gently, nuzzling myself into Travis's chest. I felt his warmth against my cheek and enjoyed his scent, which danced on my senses, igniting a flame inside me which made me love him even more than I already did. I love you so much, Travis Darlington. I am never leaving your side. Are you sure? Travis asked before placing a gentle kiss on my forehead. You know, if you stay with me in the kingdom, I will give you a happy life. I will make sure you are cared for, kept safe for the rest of eternity with me. He paused, and I could hear the emotion in his voice now. I love you too, Alyssa, and I want nothing more than to be with you forever. I nuzzled my face deeper into Travis's chest. I am absolutely sure you are the one I want to be with, I said, pulling away slightly. I looked up into Travis' eyes. We will work something out, and my family will understand. I paused. You're going to have to meet my family and friends at some point, I said with an impish grin. We can go visit, and they can come visit at the kingdom. They will be so jealous when they see our house. That feels nice, Travis said. Our house. It's our life now, Travis, I said in response, feeling myself become all gooey from the romance of this moment. We can share everything. I paused. As long as I am with you, I don't care what else happens. You will be there. You're my support and my comfort. I don't need anything else. I'm so thankful we met each other, Alyssa, Travis said, pulling me in closer once more as he tightened his embrace. I didn't think I would ever meet my soulmate. Alyssa's POV. Is that? No, you're kidding! I blinked, the car growing ever closer to our home. As we pulled into the driveway, I found myself squinting to try and identify the person sat at our front door. "Who is it?" Travis asked, his brow furrowing as he led the car into the driveway. "Whoever it is, it looks like they've been here a long time." "It seems to be the case," I said, noticing the person sitting on the steps to our front door, their legs pulled up to their body as they hugged their knees. Lifting her head up, I immediately recognized the person I had suspected her to be. Haley Green. "It's Haley," I said gently, Travis switching the engine of the car off as we reached the end of the driveway. "As in, Haley, my ex-best friend who was sleeping with Derek." "Oh," Travis said. A grunt emerged from him as I noticed his eyes fixed onto Haley, anger beginning to burn within them. "Do you want me to get rid of her? She's the last person you want to see." As much as I wanted to let Travis deal with this situation, I knew I had to handle Haley myself. I wanted her to see with everything I had been through, I was strong and able to handle myself. "I'll take this," I said, resting my hand on Travis's arm lovingly. I could tell the warm smile I was giving my husband was an instant relaxer for him, and he seemed to ease slightly. "I got myself into this mess. I'll get myself out of it." "You didn't get yourself into anything, Lise," Travis said, returning the warm smile to me. "You're not at fault with any of this, but if you insist on dealing with Haley, I'm not going to stop you." "Thank you, Travis," I said, feeling the nerves jump into my throat as the realization hit me that I had to confront this woman. "Stay in the car, and if I need you, I'll call." Travis nodded. "I was going to suggest the very same thing," he grunted. "I'll keep a close eye on you, my love." I flashed Travis a warm smile once more before I left the car. My heart pounded in my chest, pulsating in my ears as I approached Haley, still perched on the doorstep. "What do you want, Haley?" I asked, surprised at how much confidence I seemed to exude approaching the deceiving she-wolf. "You're not welcome here." Haley peered up at me, her eyes red raw where she had been crying. Her makeup slid down her cheeks from her sadness, and I felt a pang of guilt toward her, especially because there was a chance she didn't know about Derek yet. Or perhaps she did. "I just wanted to talk to you, Alyssa," Haley said, sniffling. "I want to apologize. It will take more than a sorry for you to worm your way back into my life again, Haley," I said, my gaze burning into her. "You ruined my life. You wrecked my marriage." I paused. "At least you did me some kind of favor in the long run, but I still can never trust you." "You're my best friend," Haley said, choking back her tears. I watched as she stood to her feet and grabbed my hands, her eyes gazing intently into mine in desperation, and I felt her squeeze my fingers. "I wanted to tell you that I've left Derek for good. I chose him over you. I would rather be your friend than his lover." "Oh, brilliant," I said with sarcasm as I rolled my eyes. "That's just what I wanted to hear, that you came to that decision after you decided to sleep with my husband multiple times." I paused, pulling my hands away from Haley's grip. "If only you had thought about that before you decided to fuck Derek the first time, then I may have some respect for you." Tears began to well in Haley's eyes once more, cascading down her cheek, causing her already smeared makeup to run further. "Alyssa," Haley paused, her voice staggered as she spoke. "I don't expect us to be as close as we once were, but I want to be in your life just a little, if that's all you could allow." She paused once more to gather her words. "It's only now I have realized that Derek is evil. He had all this big plans for us for the future. They were all lies. It was Derek and Harmony all along. That asshole deceived me as well." "You made your bed. You lay in it, Haley," I said, anger in my voice as I felt my blood boil with fury. It was then it occurred to me that Haley had no idea that Derek was dead. I knew I didn't want to be the one to bring such bad news, but who else was going to tell her? "I don't want anything to do with Derek," Haley said, choking through her tears once more. I noticed she began to shiver, and her face fell pale with her sadness. "I made a mistake, a big mistake," she said with a begging tone to her cracked voice. "Just let me apologize properly. It's the least I can do." "Oh, I get it," I said, placing my hands firmly on my hips. "You're doing this to make yourself feel better, to clear your conscience." I felt the fury build inside me further now. Haley was trying to make a mockery of me, play the victim and make me feel sorry for her. "Well, I can see right through you now, Haley. You need to leave." "And go where?" Haley asked. Back to Derek? Where I'm unwanted? The pack will toss me out as well, no doubt. I let out a long exhale. I had to tell Haley the truth. It was the right thing to do. Haley, I said, softening my tone, there's something you need to know. I prepared myself for revealing the news to Haley, as much as I didn't want to be the one to tell her. Derek is. I paused, feeling Travis appear at my side as he disrupted my words. Lise, I think we need to invite Haley inside before we go any further, Travis said, his voice kind as he spoke. His eyes were warm and genuine, and it was times like these I respected Travis so much. He sympathizes with people he didn't have to, even ones he shouldn't. The mark of a kind leader. If that's okay with you? He asked, his warm gaze shifting to me. I looked at Haley. She appeared lost. Her once shining eyes had dimmed their sparkle. She was gray all over, no cheery smile on her face like I once remembered, and I began to feel the same way as Travis. Haley, please come inside. You look freezing, I said kindly. How long have you been sitting here? I don't know, Haley responded. About 5 hours, I would guess. She took her gaze to Travis and nodded toward him, and then shifted her eyes back to me. Thank you. Your kindness will not go unrecognized. Haley's POV. I had so many emotions wrenching in my heart at this moment. Derek was dead. I tried to not believe this news, but then why would Alyssa lie to me? I tried to hold back the tears, not wanting to cause any distress for Alyssa. She had been through enough. Sit down, please, Travis said, gesturing to a comfortable-looking sofa at my side. Would you like a drink? Just water, I said, knowing my stomach wouldn't be able to handle anything else. I couldn't already feel the bile rise up my throat, stinging me as it went. I watched the Alpha King, expecting him to send someone to fetch water for him, but I was surprised to find he went to the kitchen himself to get me the drink. Is there anything you want to know? Alyssa asked. About Derek? I felt a shudder run up my spine, unsure if Alyssa was in the right headspace to talk about this. Do you want to talk about it? And as I asked, I studied Alyssa's face and noticed bruising on the side of her head, running down to her cheekbone. It was then I noticed her arm was covered in bruises. The shawl she wore had slipped off her bare arm, revealing her injuries. Alyssa noticed me staring, and she sheepishly pulled the shawl back over her skin to hide the bruises away from me. I'm fine with talking about it, Alyssa paused. Derek was a monster. He deserved his comeuppance. I shuddered once more. What had Derek done so wrong that had meant he met his demise? Or perhaps he wasn't murdered. Maybe he was killed in an accident. But I remained silent to await Alyssa's words. Derek attacked me, Alyssa said, her voice cracking as she spoke. I could see in her eyes that the sparkle had dimmed as she talked about her experience. He raped me and left me battered and bruised, she paused. I was hospitalized. Alyssa stopped as Travis set a hot drink by her side, before passing me a cold glass of water. Honey, are you sure you want to get into this? It's still so raw, Travis asked gently, and I felt my heart melt. I could already tell how much Travis adored Alyssa, and I had been so skeptical of their relationship. I had been proved wrong in my opinion already. I'm fine, my love, Alyssa said, and Travis took a seat on the other sofa by her side. He wrapped his arm around her, pulling her into his loving embrace. Alyssa's eyes were still fixed onto me. Travis found me, ravaged, beaten, and bleeding. She paused. I lost my memory of that night at first, but they came back to me as time went on. I wish they had not returned, Travis grunted. I wish you didn't have to relive those memories at all. Alyssa turned her eyes to Travis and smiled warmly at him, before turning back to me. Naturally, Travis went to confront Derek, and his guards ended his life. He deserved it, and I have no remorse of sadness. I sniffled as the tears began to trickle down my cheeks again. Alyssa, I'm so sorry, I choked through my emotion. I had no idea Derek could be so dangerous. What we did to you was bad enough, but this... I paused, choosing my words carefully. Alyssa, you never deserved any of this. I know I didn't, Alyssa said in return, and I was taken aback by how calm she was remaining at this moment. Derek never deserved me. I'm glad what happened between us happened, or else I would still be trapped in a miserable relationship with a man who didn't really love me. He was using you, Alyssa, I said outright, wanting her to know the truth about everything now. He wanted to marry you so he had a wife, meaning his father would hand him the riches he wanted after he had chosen a wife. I paused, finding myself revealing everything. He was promised the power of becoming the alpha of his pack once he found his Luna, but it was all lies. "I'm not surprised," Alyssa said gently. "Derek barely wanted to be around me, never mind having me ruling the pack by his side. Nothing you can say will shock me now, Haley." She paused. "It's just a shame that you chose to deceive me and ruin the incredible friendship we had." "We can get back to normal," I said with a weak smile. "You and I against the world once more. I've changed. I'm a different person now, you can trust me." "No, I can't," Alyssa said, shaking her head. As she moved, I could see the pain as she winced. A human being attacked by a werewolf must wreak havoc on her body, and I felt so much pity for her. My tears were shedding for Alyssa now. "I understand," I paused, "but please, let me take you out." I smiled with a hint of joy. "Let's go out tonight, just the two of us. Girls on the town, like we used to." Before Alyssa had a chance to answer, Travis interrupted. A strong frown furrowed on his brow while his eyes burned with fury. "That's not a good idea," he grunted. "Can you not see that Alyssa is injured? She doesn't have the healing ability we do. I'm not letting you take my wife away. She needs to rest and be under my watchful eye until she is fully recovered." "Okay." I clenched my jaw with my own frustration. "Overprotective much?" "I may be overprotective, but it's because I need to be," Travis said, his voice lowering with his angry, "Alyssa has been through enough. I'm not letting anyone else hurt her." "Travis is right," Alyssa said. "I need the rest, and I don't trust you enough to be in your safe hands at the moment. You've turned on me once. You may do it again." I felt my heart wrench at Alyssa's words. I felt like she could never trust me again, but I couldn't blame her. I needed to prove that I was a good friend and earn her trust once more. "I understand," I said, softening my voice, "but I want to be here for you. I want to help you take care of Alyssa and protect her." I paused as Harmony entered my mind. "If that crazy bitch Harmony gets into the house, she will be after both of your blood." "Harmony is no longer a threat to us," Travis grunted, and I could feel his frustration toward me building. "But I appreciate you want to help us. I'm sure we can think of something for you to do." I caught Alyssa smiling, not the false friendly smile she usually gave me, but a warm expression. "Thanks, Haley. That means a lot." Travis POV. "It's good to see you, Henry," I said, feeling warmth fill me as I shook my best friend's hand before pulling him into a hug. "It's been a while. Sorry, I haven't been around as much as I should have." "You've had enough to deal with, Travis," Henry said with a grunt. "As long as you're all right, that's all that matters." I smiled, relaxing as I was filled with the presence of Henry. The comfort of having both my beta and my best friend there was something I never realized I needed at this moment, and I felt glad I invited him over tonight. "I feel like I need to catch you up on what's been going on," I said, leading Henry into the kitchen. I gestured for him to sit on one of the bar stools. I pulled open the fridge door and grabbed 2 cold cans of beer. Joining Henry at the bar, I slid onto the stool by Henry's side and passed him a beer. "How much do you know?" "Probably a lot," Henry said, and I watched him gulp on his beer. He always was fond of the brown stuff, but word travels fast, you know, especially when you're concerned. I nodded. "Of course, I'm always the talk of the town." I laughed, flipping open the can before gulping a good portion down. The chilled beer slid down my throat, refreshing me instantly. "Then let me tell you the full story, just in case you missed out on any important details." As I talked, retelling Henry the story of how Alyssa suffered from the hands of Derek and his poisonous sidekick, Harmony, how I had been involved in a scuffle with Derek before my men had stepped in to finish him off, and how Alyssa had been hospitalized. I could see the color leave Henry's face. His brow furrowed harder with fury. The more I spoke, and I watched his fists clench into tight balls. "Why didn't you summon me through any of this, Travis?" Henry asked angrily, muttering through his clenched teeth. "I could have helped you, been there for you when you needed it. I didn't want to put you through any danger. I knew I could handle myself, and my guards were watching me the entire time," I said, hoping my words would ease Henry, but from his expression they did the very opposite. "It is my duty as your beta and best friend to watch your back." Henry husked his words. I would have enjoyed being present when Derek suffered his terrible death. He deserved it. The bastard. I wish you were there, fighting at my side, I said, now realizing that nothing I could say would ease Henry's frustration. But I didn't want you involved. You're so dear to me that having Alyssa in harm's way was already too much. I paused with a gentle exhale. Having you in danger too would have wrecked me even more. Henry huffed, and I noticed his eyes flash yellow as his wolf made an attempt to escape, but he seemed to keep it under control. Very well, he paused. It can't be changed now. The damage is done. Henry seemed to relax now, his posture becoming more casual as he leaned back into the stool. But I want to point out, I never saw Derek's body. Not here in the house, and I've been coming and going to keep everything in check. It was dealt with quickly and efficiently, I said, trying to ease Henry further. My guards disposed of Derek's body. I ordered them to take him deep into the woods and bury his remains far into the ground where no one would find him. Henry nodded. Very well, he said, and a wise idea to make sure Derek is well hidden. He paused. But I have this nagging feeling in my stomach, Travis, that Derek isn't where he's supposed to be. What do you mean? I asked curiously. Are you saying Derek is no longer buried? Yes, Henry said before finishing the last dregs of his beer. He crushed the can between his fingers before placing it onto the table. It's as though I can sense something isn't quite right in all this. What if Derek is... Derek is gone, I said, interrupting Henry's words. He may be my best friend, but his overthinking was going to stress him out eventually. He's worm food, I assure you. I paused. Anyway, let's get back to why else I called you here. Humph, Henry huffed. If you say so. I could tell by his tone he still didn't believe me, but I wanted to shift from the conversation regarding Derek now. I need you to be around the house more, I said, placing my hand on Henry's shoulder. You're the person I trust the most. I trust you with my own life. A smile played on my lips. I can't be around here all the time, and I need you to keep an eye on Alyssa when I'm gone. Silence fell between us, and we heard the soft giggles coming from the living room from Alyssa and Haley. The situation is a little complicated at the moment. I paused, trying to figure out the best way to say this. But Alyssa's friend Haley has offered to help care for my wife while she recovers from her injuries. But I don't trust her. I can understand why, Henry grunted, his jaw clenching once more. She has deceived Alyssa once. She will do it again. I assure you, no matter how much she builds your trust again. I nodded, knowing Henry's wise words were correct. Exactly, but just keep an eye out for me, okay? Henry nodded. Sure, I'd do anything for you, Travis. His eyes moved to the fridge. Got any more beer in there, pal? I laughed. Help yourself, bud. I paused, watching Henry approach the fridge. Pass me one, too. Let's have a little celebration drink between friends. I couldn't help thinking about what Henry said. He had hesitations about Derek actually being dead, and even though I knew the idea of Derek surviving was ridiculous, I couldn't help but wonder myself. The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to check for myself. Fancy a trip to the woods? I asked Clayton, stirring him within my mind. We should visit Derek's grave and pay our respects. Clayton chuckled deep in my mind as he moved to the forefront. Sure, why not? He responded. Even though Derek doesn't deserve any respect, I'll still piss on his grave. Heh, I chuckled back to my wolf. Feel free, I paused. Let's leave tonight. Henry can watch Alyssa while we investigate. I need the proof for myself that Derek is dead and buried where no one can find him. Alyssa's POV. Sitting with Haley at this moment, the TV on, and I had put on our favorite series. It felt like the old times, how we used to laugh at silly jokes as we spent hours together watching and enjoying our favorite media, talking about boys and enjoying our favorite snacks. Knowing Derek was gone, I felt as though I could become close to forgiving Haley. I doubt I could trust her as much as I once did, and I wondered if we could ever get back to a best friendship like we used to have. Could that damage be repaired, or would I always be watching my back when Haley was around in case she turned on me again? This is my favorite bit, Haley laughed, pointing at the TV screen. It's something that never gets old, right? She looked at me, her eyes glistening with joy as Haley spoke to me. I nodded in agreement, returning a warm smile to her. The nostalgia was really hitting me now, and having Haley here like this reminded me why we were such good friends in the first place. Her presence made me feel comfortable, as though we belonged together in a strong friendship. But I had to hold Haley at arm's length for the time being, and not get too involved in trying to rebuild what was damaged. "Do you have any snacks?" Haley asked. "If not, I can run to the store and pick up some for us." "There should be some in the kitchen. Ask Travis where they are." "I think he's in there with Henry," I said, watching Haley jump to her feet as she scampered out of the room and into the kitchen. I had this strong feeling of wanting Haley close to me, so I leant over and rearranged the cushions and a blanket so she could fit in the space by my side on the sofa. Something had changed inside me, and I began to pine for Haley. I missed her friendship, and it was strange to me that my feelings had turned a complete 180 on this. Haley scampered back into the room, her arm full of snacks, and she dropped them onto the coffee table. "How cute is Henry?" Haley asked, her cheeks flushing pink. "Does he visit often?" I couldn't help but laugh. Haley was always one to go for a pretty boy, and Henry was just that. "I'll put a good word in for you, Hales." I could see Haley's eyes light up with glee, and I wasn't sure if it was because I mentioned Henry or the fact I used her nickname. I haven't called her that in a long while. "Come sit next to me if you want," I said, gesturing toward the space next to me on the sofa before Haley got the chance to sit down where she was. "Are you sure?" Haley asked with caution. "I don't want to intrude on your personal space." I shook my head. "You're not intruding in any way," I said with a smile, pulling a blanket over me. "Anyway, I'm cold and I could use your wolfy heat right now." "Ooh, I'm good at that," Haley said with a grin. She landed firmly onto the space at my side and snuggled into me. Pulling the blanket across her as well, she pushed her body into mine gently. "How's that?" I enjoyed the heat emanating from Haley, and I felt a nostalgic feeling of comfort. It reminded me of the times we enjoyed when we were the best of friends, snuggled up on the sofa as we watched TV with a mountain of snacks. "That feels great," I said, nestling myself into Haley. "I sort of missed this, you know." "I did too," Haley said with content in her voice. "I missed us. I'm so sorry I messed things up between us." She paused. "Are you really going to leave?" "How do you mean?" I asked curiously, taking a handful of chips as I began to snack on them. "You know," Haley said, "I know you wanted to return back to the human world, back to your old life." She paused, grazing on a few chips from the bag. "I would be so sad if you left the kingdom." "Oh," I said chirpily, now recognizing what Haley was trying to get across to me. "I'm staying," I said, giving my friend a warm smile. "I don't want to leave Travis, but I'll pop home for the odd weekend, and my family and friends are welcome to visit here." I paused, admiring the joy which now showed on Haley's face. "But I'm here to stay, to rule by Travis' side, if he wants me to." "Of course I want you to," Travis's voice alerted me as I entered the room. "That's all I want now, for you to be by my side as my queen." I felt the heat collect in my face as my cheeks flushed pink at Travis's comment. "I didn't realize you were listening," I said, feeling slightly embarrassed, "but that's nice you want me to." Travis nodded. "I just wanted to let you girls know that Henry is going to be around here more often." My eyes shifted to Haley, who I could see had a giddy expression on her face. Her eyes shimmered with a glint of mischief, and I knew that look well. She was imagining so many scenarios involving Henry right now, and I sort of felt sorry for him. Haley would eat Henry alive. "Oh, well, that sounds fine," I said, smiling at my husband. "Doesn't it, Haley?" As I spoke those words, Henry entered the room and stood by Travis's side. I noticed Haley's cheek flush red as she made eye contact with him, and her eyes immediately dropped to the ground. "Yeah, that's great." I had never seen Haley show such shyness around a guy she found attractive before. She always exuded such confidence when it came to talking to boys. Travis wrapped his arm around Henry's shoulder and gave him a firm slap on the back. "My strong boy is going to take care of things the times I can't be here. I want him to make sure you're safe, Alyssa." I smiled. "Well, that sounds perfect," I giggled, covering my mouth slightly. "I have my own team of protectors now. Travis, Haley, and Henry." I paused. "I guess Henry and Haley will have to spend some time getting to know each other sometime." "Shut up," Haley responded with a grunt. her eyeline not leaving the floor. I couldn't help but laugh. Thanks, Travis, I appreciate you looking out for me. Anytime, Alyssa, he smiled in response. I want to know you're safe at all times. Travis and Henry left the room, and I heard their chatter as they took themselves back into the kitchen. Once they had left, Haley's eyes returned to me once again. Thanks for that, Ally, she playfully pouted before bursting into laughter. I'm so happy you're not leaving. She paused. Today turned out to be a really great day, didn't it? Surprisingly, it had. After being terrified upon seeing Haley at the door when we returned home, I never imagined the rest of the day would go this well. And for once, in a long time, I felt more relaxed than I could remember. Travis's POV. Honey, I've just got some business to attend to, I said to Alyssa, leaning down to kiss her on the forehead. I won't be long. At this time of night, Alyssa asked with worry in her eyes. It tore me apart that my wife was so worried about me, but I didn't want to tell her the truth and scare her any more than she was. Yeah, I said, but Henry and Haley will look after you, won't you guys? My eyes shifted to the pair of them. Sure, Henry said with a grunt, always plain and simple with him. You betcha! Haley responded with a smile. There isn't anyone getting their dirty mitts on my girl. She snuggled herself closer to Alyssa, warming herself under the blanket they shared. I won't be long, I promise, I said, reassuring Alyssa of my safety. All right, Alyssa said with a satisfied tone. She nodded toward me. I'll miss you. Come home soon. With that, I swiftly left the house. I didn't want to prolong saying goodbye to Alyssa, and I sure didn't want to cause her any more worry than I had. Will she be okay? Clayton asked, entering my mind. I could sense his panic instantly. Do you trust leaving her alone with Haley? After all the trouble she has caused, I knew that Clayton feared for Alyssa's safety as he felt what I did in my heart, so I had to reassure my wolf as well as I could. Alyssa is fine. She's with Henry, and I know he is strong enough to keep her safe. That's comforting. Clayton said as I hear him exhale slowly in my mind. Henry will fight anyone for you. He is a good man. Indeed he is. I trust him with my life, I said. Along with Clayton, Henry was my best friend in the whole world. Don't fancy driving tonight? Clayton asked. I had already passed my car and was making myself onto the road. My eyes set on the horizon with the stretch of trees which lead into the mouth of the woods. I don't need a car, I said as I focused, because you're going to help me tonight. You mean I finally get to run? Clayton asked with excitement rising in his voice. It's been a while since I've had some exercise. I might not be used to it anymore. I heard him chuckle from his own sarcasm. Watch it, Wolf, I said with a grunt, but a smile played on my lips. You know I've been too busy to take you for a walk. They call that bad pet ownership, you know? Clayton chuckled. Where are we headed? I heard the focus in his own voice now. Into the woods? Yes, I said in reply, readying myself to prepare to shift into the wolf form which will take over my body. Deep in the center, you'll catch the scent of my men once you're inside. We need to find where they buried Derek. I paused as I felt my chest tighten with both nerves and adrenaline. I need to see for myself that he is dead and buried beneath the soil. Very well. Travis, Clayton said, I'm ready. Let me take control now. I did as Clayton asked. I allowed the wolf to take over me, and I felt him come to the forefront of my mind. I began to run, quickening my pace as I watched the horizon moving ever so slowly closer toward me. It was then Clayton began to take over my mind and body completely, and as I leapt, my body began to change shape. The human was gone, and the wolf had taken over. Landing in 4 paws, I felt the cold night air race past my fur as I quickened my speed toward the woods. I had missed this more than I realized, the feel of the ground beneath my feet, and the sounds of creatures all around me as I raced past them. I looked up into the sky, and the moon was hanging full and bright in the night sky. It was a clear night, and I could see every star twinkling delicately above me. I feel so free, I husked in my mind. Thank you, Travis, for giving me this opportunity. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Clayton, Travis said in return as he spoke to me, hanging in the forefront of my mind. Just stay straight and head toward the entrance of the woods, and then we should catch the scent we need. I quickened my pace, my paws thudding against the grass as I headed in the direction Travis told me to go. Eventually, I entered the woods. The trees began to cover the moonlight, blocking it from me as everything grew darker. It somehow felt much colder here, and the sound of creatures dimmed, but I could still hear the snaps of twigs beneath me as I walked. "Can you smell it yet?" Travis asked, disrupting my calming thoughts. I sniffed the air delicately and caught the scent of Travis's bodyguards. I knew their smell because they were always hanging around, so their stench was familiar to me. "Yes, I have it!" I said with excitement. I sped up my pace once more and raced through the woods, following the scent I was now tracking. Reaching the spot of the woods, the scents ended so suddenly, and I felt a softer piece of ground beneath my feet. "It has to be here," I spoke to Travis. "This feels like turned soil that's looser than the rest of the ground." It was then I felt Travis come further into the front of my mind. "My turn," he said, and it was then I felt myself shift. My wolf form was morphing back into the once human shape of Travis Darlington. "It has to be here," I spoke to Clayton before dropping to my knees. But it was then I noticed something wasn't right. The spot of soil where I had assumed was where Derek was buried was not what I expected. I began to dig, pulling away the soil, and it was then I noticed a large hole in the spot by its side. As though a grave had been dug, but there was no one here. It seemed from the scraping on the side, there had been a struggle as though someone had clawed their way out of the hole. I sniffed the air and caught Derek's scent, which lingered down inside the hole as well. "Shit," I said in terror to my wolf. "Henry was correct, something isn't right at all. Derek was buried her, but now he's gone." "What are you saying?" Clayton asked. "Derek was never dead after all," I said, feeling myself shake with both the anger and fear of this situation. "He waited until he was buried, and my men to leave when he escaped." I paused. "Or?" I felt a shiver run down my spine as a terrible thought entered my mind. Standing to my feet, I narrowed my eyes as I studied the area around where I was standing. And there my fears were realized. Henry had been right to feel like something wasn't right. I struggled to get my words out. Clayton, my faithful bodyguards. My eyes began to well with emotion as I felt myself crying. He killed them both. Derek murdered them in cold blood. It was then I noticed the two bodies laying on the ground, and by their bodies laid both of their heads. Derek had decapitated them. Alyssa's POV. After Travis had left to tend to whatever duty he had, Henry had entered the living room and settled down on the armchair by the sofa Haley and I had made a nest on. My eyes shifted from the television set over to Henry and then to Haley. I felt some strange tension in the air between them. Not negative, but quite distracting nonetheless. Henry mostly focused on the TV, but I could tell from his expression he wasn't really interested in what was on. A chick flick probably wasn't his thing. His eyes flickered to Haley quickly once again, and I could definitely feel like there could potentially be something between them. I tried to contain my excitement, but I could feel myself jumping for joy on the inside. Haley could use a good man. She deserved it after all. A man to treat her right. "Haley," Henry spoke her name, breaking the silence between the three of us. "Can we step out for a second? I'd like a word." "Can't you say it here?" Haley asked, and I could feel her become awkward as his body seemed to tense up by my side. "I'm too comfy to get up." "Please, it's really important," Henry said in a wooden fashion. As this conversation played in my head, I couldn't help but feel like they were arranging a secret rendezvous so they could make out without me knowing. Except it had all been executed very awkwardly on both parts. They couldn't fool me. I subtly nudged Haley with my elbow, encouraging her to get up. Haley turned her attention to me and gave me a slight eye roll before getting up. A large sigh escaped her as she moved. "All right," she said without enthusiasm. "Lead the way." I watched as Henry stood up, walking out of the living room with Haley in tow. What was he up to? Was he about to admit his undying love to Haley? And as wrong as I knew this was, I had to find out what was so urgent. Perhaps I would be present for the beginnings of their relationship, witnessing the seed being planted before it flowered into something beautiful. I waited until Haley and Henry left the room, and I heard scuffles as they made their way down the hallway slightly and into the kitchen. Waiting for the perfect opportunity, I slid off the sofa and began to sneak out of the room and down the hallway to follow them. As I approached the kitchen, I kept myself hidden by the wall, but still crept near the doorway. I stopped to listen to the conversation my protectors were having. "What do you mean Derek isn't dead?" Haley asked, and I could hear the frustration in her voice. "Are you having a laugh? If so, it's not funny." "I promise you, Haley," Henry said, his voice desperate as he spoke. "I had a mind-link message from Travis while we were watching TV just now. He went to find Derek's grave to check he was definitely dead and buried." Henry paused with a groan. "But the grave was empty, and—" I felt my stomach turn. The bile began to rise in my throat as I tried my hardest not to throw up. Was this true what I was hearing? Derek isn't dead. Travis put himself in danger to go find his grave. What if Derek had attacked Travis and he's laid dead in the woods somewhere? I began to hear Haley and Henry scuffle one more, their footsteps heading further toward me. I nimbly managed to maneuver down the hallway and back into the living room before they caught sight of me. I settled down onto the sofa once more, pulling the blanket over me. My heart raced with fear. So many scenarios played through my head, most of which Travis was in danger, and I just wanted to know my husband was safe. "Allie," Haley said as she entered the room first. "Are you okay? You don't look well?" I couldn't let on that I had heard their conversation. I didn't want to let either of them worry about me on top of everything else that was going on. "I'm fine," I said, making an attempt to gesture my false happiness with a smile. I think those chips disagreed with me or something. Henry hovered in front of me, and then he began to pace up and down. His motions were unsettling me, and I just wanted to tell him to sit down and chill. But I knew I couldn't. I knew Henry would be worrying about Travis as much as I was. "We'll have to avoid those from now on," Haley laughed, but I could hear the nerves in her tone. "Other than that, are you doing okay? You're not hurting or anything." "I'm not hurting, I'm fine," I said, outright lying to Haley. I was hurting. My heart was aching. I felt like it was cracking in two at the idea of Derek returning and possibly causing harm to Travis. If I lost Travis now, I don't know what I would do without him. It was then we all heard the same sound, the familiar noise of the front door opening and closing as someone entered and shut the door behind them. "Travis!" I beamed, my heart fluttering with love and excitement at hearing the return of my husband. "We're in here, my love," I shouted, wanting to see Travis' handsome face as soon as I could. There was no voice in return, no response, but we could hear the slow footsteps of someone walking down the hallway. Henry turned to face the doorway, and I watched his lip curl up as a strong growl simmered in his throat. "That's not Travis," he said, turning his eyes to Haley. "I can smell him." Haley shifted her gaze from Henry and toward the doorway. I felt a growl simmer inside her. She pressed her body closer to me as she grabbed my arm. "Stay here," she ordered in a firm tone. I watched as Haley rose to her feet and stood at Henry's side. "We need to watch Alyssa at all times," she husked, and I watched her chest heaving from her heavy breaths. "It's him. You're right. I know that stench anywhere." I felt my heart drum in my ears as my pulse quickened. My throat tightened with fear as it hit me that it wasn't Travis that had entered the home. It was then the shadowy figure stood into the doorway, his intense eyes locked immediately onto me. "Hello, Alyssa," Derek Charlton grunted, a creepy smile spread on his lips. "So this is where you're hiding. I've found you at last." Alyssa's POV. "Alyssa! Get back!" Henry yelled. A growl simmered in his throat as he warned me, "Don't move another inch, you're too weak." "This isn't a joke," Haley joined in. "Alyssa, sit down." I had risen to my feet off the sofa and stared Derek straight in his own eager eyes. I wanted to confront him, and I knew I was in a weakened state. I had to face my fears. It was clear to me Derek was never going to leave me alone. To the point of coming back from the dead, I had to do something about him. "Let him have his say," I said, feeling the anger rise inside me. I knew I should allow Henry and Haley to tear Derek a new one, but I also wanted to hear his pathetic excuse for why he refused to leave me alone. Derek shifted his gaze to my bodyguards and back to me. "Wise choice," he chuckled. "Set your dogs away from me, and then we'll talk." "They're staying," I said, my voice talking with force. "Just tell me why you're here, Derek, and don't beat around the bush. Travis will be home any second, so I suggest you talk fast." Derek laughed, as though he mocked me. But he was to the point. It's quite simple, my dear Alyssa. He paused, taking a few steps closer to me, and I saw Henry and Haley become defensive as they crept closer toward me. We have a wedding to finish. It's been a while, and we have to make our marriage official. I felt sick to my stomach, remembering Haley telling me why Derek wanted to make me his wife in the first place. Just to use me. The wedding is off. I thought you would have gotten the hint when I left you and married another man. I just want us to live a happy life, my sweet Alyssa, Derek said with a condescending tone. I can give you everything, riches, safety. You'll never have to worry for the rest of your life. You're pathetic. I husked. I know your plan when you insisted on making me your wife, and it wasn't for love, was it? I felt my body tense up from my fury, thinking about how Derek deceived me. You wanted to marry me so that Daddy would give you access to his fortune. Make me your Luna so I would give you an heir or two. You never loved me. I see some little birdie has been tweeting, Derek said gently, his attention turning to Haley. It seems the little bitch can't keep her beak closed. You need to get out now, Derek. You're not welcome here, Haley said, and I noticed her fists clenched with her anger. Her eyes began to flash yellow as her wolf made an attempt to unleash herself to get to Derek. Why are you here, Haley? Derek asked, tilting his head with curiosity. Are you welcomed back into Alyssa's heart, after all the pain you put her through? I could feel my breath becoming heavy. My chest ached with the pain as I remembered how much my once best friend hurt me. Mixed emotions swirled around me like a roller coaster, and now I didn't know what I wanted. This is your last chance, I said, gritting my teeth so hard that my jaw began to ache. Get out, you aren't welcome. I spoke my words slowly so Derek could understand the point I was getting across. Heh, Derek said, his tone becoming less impressed. He released a long exhale as he tapped his foot. I thought I trusted you. He turned to Haley once more. We were in this together, you and I, remember? I promised you so much, and this is how you treat me? Derek began to move closer to me, and I felt Haley flinch at my side once more. I should have known if you were so easy to deceive your best friend, you wouldn't think twice to disrespect me. But to disclose my whole plan to Alyssa, that's low. Shut up, Haley screamed, and I watched as she leapt toward Derek. Haley pushed her entire weight into Derek, making an attempt to knock him back. Run, Alyssa! Get out of here! I began to panic. I could already tell that Haley had made a mistake. She seemed to forget how strong Derek is, and within seconds Derek had overpowered Haley. You stupid mutt, Derek growled. Do you think you can take me? You weak, pathetic slut. It was then I noticed Derek's eyes were burning with rage. He used his strength to grab Haley and push her back. But Derek was far stronger in this fight, and he shoved her across the room, past Henry, and crashing into the far wall. Don't mess with me, little bird. Derek took his eyes to me. Now will you come with me? Or do I have to break your bones and take you away myself? I felt sick to my stomach. Derek had no morals. He didn't care about anyone, and I knew he was speaking the truth. His threats were not empty, and I knew full well he would break my bones so I couldn't move in order to take me away. Please, I held my hands up, let's just talk about this. My words were stopped as I watched Henry rush by me. He made an attempt to attack Derek, and I had hoped that he would be more successful than Haley, but the same thing happened. Henry rushed into Derek, his fists slamming into his chest. But before long, Derek had grabbed his wrist and twisted it. I heard Henry's bones crack in Derek's tight grip, and he let out a terrifying cry of pain. Stay down, dog, Derek said as he crushed Henry's bones in his grip. Henry slumped to the ground, crying in pain and begging for mercy as Derek overpowered him. Please stop, I cried out, begging for my own mercy now. It was clear to me that Travis wasn't coming, and I feared the worst of what could have happened to him. But right now I had to protect the lives of Henry and Haley. I'll go with you. Please don't hurt them. It was then, after the smug expression on Derek's face, I saw a whirl of a dark shape shoot past me. Haley had transformed into her wolf form and had leapt onto Derek. She pushed him to the ground. The terrifying sound of her snarls and snap of her deadly teeth rung in my ears as she made an attempt to tear at his flesh. Travis's POV. After returning from the woods, using my wolf form to carry me speedily out into the open once more, I shifted back to my human shape. I was eager to get back to Alyssa now, to hold her in my arms and take good care of her. Who knew where Derek was hiding? Night had fallen completely now, and I began to take my footsteps quickly toward my home once more. I sensed the trail I had made on my journey here, so I followed that, enabling me to get back as efficiently as possible. I thought about Alyssa, hoping she was feeling comfortable and safe with Henry, and as I thought about her, my mind flashed with images of her. Alyssa screamed in pain. The terror in her voice sent a shiver up my spine. Alyssa was in danger. I could sense it. The image of the horror on Alyssa's expression burned into my mind, tormenting me, and it was then my footsteps sped quicker. "Clayton, I need you." I alerted my wolf. "Alyssa is in danger. Can you feel it?" I felt my chest tighten with the effort of my breathing as I began to speed across the ground. "Yes," Clayton responded. "Alyssa is in grave danger. Allow me to take us home." Clayton didn't have to tell me twice. I allowed the wolf to take over my body once more, and I felt my form shift into the wolf to make sure we got home with haste. "We're coming, Alyssa," I said internally, feeling the panic rise as I felt the desperation to save my wife rise. "Hold on, baby. Be strong for me." Arriving at my home, I shifted back into my human form and raced through the front door. The first thing I noticed was that the door was open, as though someone had been so quick to leave that they forgot to close it. Who could have been so desperate to enter or leave this house with such haste? Surely it couldn't be Alyssa. She could barely move in her weak condition. I sniffed the air delicately. The stench of fear and blood danced on my senses. My stomach turned with the sickness as bile tore at my throat. "Something isn't right here," I spoke to Clayton. "Stay alert. We may need to fight." "I'm here, Travis. I've got your back. Let's be cautious as we go," Clayton responded. He was so close, I felt the comfort of my wolf being there for me at this moment. I raced down the hallway, my eyes darting into various rooms as I passed, but I noticed them empty. I hoped I would find Alyssa and Henry safe and well in one of the rooms and realize I was just being paranoid with my thoughts. But the more I traveled down the hall, the further into my mind my dark thoughts became lost. "Alyssa?" I called out her name. "Are you there?" No response, and I felt my chest tighten with fear as I was met with silence. "Henry! Henry!" I cried out my beta's name, but I was again met with deadly silence. I raced into the living room, knowing that was the last place they had been, and the first thing I noticed was the mess on the floor. Objects had been knocked over, smashed on the floor carelessly. There was blood splattered on the ground, and I knew something awful had happened here. The next thing I noticed was that Alyssa was missing, and at this notion I felt my stomach twist even harder with the sickness. My eyes darted around, trying to figure out what happened here. I sniffed the air, trying to catch a scent I recognized from the mixture of scents around me. It was then that Clayton stirred within me once more. Recognizing one particular scent amongst the cocktailed Derek, he grunted. A growl simmered in his throat. "I smelled Derek Charlton, that piece of shit. He was here." As I concentrated, I focused on Derek's scent, and it suddenly hit me. I smell him too. He's all over this room like a plague. As my eyes studied each detail of the room now, and it was then I noticed the crumpled up body of Henry by the far wall. "Henry!" I gasped, rushing over to where my friend lay, and began to shake his body. "Wake up! Henry, I need you to wake up!" Henry groaned. His eyes stirred slowly as he opened them. He looked up at me, his gaze glassy before he focused. "Travis, is that you?" "Yes, friend, it's me," I paused, desperate to know what Henry had witnessed. "What happened here, Henry? Where's Alyssa?" "Alyssa," Henry croaked as he struggled to form words. He began to sit up, and I helped support him as he propped himself up the surface of the wall. "Derek came here. He tried to take Alyssa, but we attacked." He paused, coughing to clear his chest. I watched Henry grab his chest as he did, which made me think he had cracked a rib or two. "Derek was too strong. He overpowered me, and everything went dark." "Derek," I growled. The fury began to boil inside me. "That asshole was here, and he's taken Alyssa." "Said he wanted to finish the wedding." Henry said, "Wanted Alyssa to marry him." He paused to inhale his breath as he struggled. "Haley, she's gone too." Yes, I said, feeling the blood boil inside me now. I knew I couldn't trust that bitch. I bet she lured Derek here. She lied to us about becoming a better person. I was beginning to boil over with my fury now. I wanted to rip Derek limb from limb, fearing what he had done with my Alyssa and how Haley had double-crossed us. I tried to make a connection with Alyssa, forming a mind link to find out where she could be. But I failed. No matter how hard I concentrated, I just couldn't focus on her or connect to her mind. Something was blocking me out of finding out where she was. You need to pull yourself together, Henry, I said coldly to my friend, as the alpha leader in me was beginning to emerge. We have to find Alyssa before Derek does anything to harm her. We need to end his life once and for all. Give me time, Henry said with a cough. Need to heal. We don't have time, I said, raising my voice in command. You will heal on the way. I need you right now, Henry. I need you to be strong for me. I paused as tears began to fill my eyes, cascading down my cheeks as I began to sob. Alyssa, I paused. I'm scared. Henry placed his hands on my arms, gently digging his fingertips into my skin. I can't see you like this, he said, as though a surge of strength powered him through my sorrow. I'll help you rescue Alyssa and end this fucker's life once and for all. Haley's POV. As I ran, my chest burned with the effort. I could feel my legs tighten. It had been a while since I had powered my body like this, but I could feel my wolf Silk stir within me. Let me take over, Haley. Silk's gentle voice purred in my mind. You can't handle this. I need to get them before Derek hurts Alyssa, I said, my chest burning harder now. I can smell him. I know he's come this far at least. Everything went black. What happened? Silk asked, concern in her voice. I was trying to save Alyssa from Derek. He wanted her, and I couldn't allow it. I felt my throat burning now as a stabbing pain formed in my side. But I was determined to power on through the woods. It was dark, but my eyes had adjusted quickly to the lack of light around me. We fought as best as we could, I said, reassuring my wolf. But it was too late. Derek overpowered us, and everything went dark. I woke up and Alyssa had gone. Derek had taken her. I paused. Henry was overpowered too. I think he was dead. But I had no time to check. I had to make sure Alyssa was okay. I had to save my best friend. Let me take over, Silk said, her voice begging now. You are becoming weak, please. It was then I felt myself weaken even further. Silk was wise. I knew if I let the wolf form take over, she could run faster and easier than I could through this forest. I accept your help, Silk, I said at last, succumbing to my wolf. Please be careful and find Derek. I paused. But let me kill him. I want the satisfaction for myself. I felt the wolf creep closer to the forefront of my mind, and I allowed her to take over me. Our bodies merged as my human form shifted into that of the wolf. Her paws landed onto the damp, cold ground, and instantly she ran. Speeding up, I could feel the strength in her legs as she zipped through the woods, dodging trees and obstacles in our way. I have his scent, Silk whispered to me in my mind. You relax, take a breather and leave this to me. I will find Derek, and when I do, you may have him for yourself. I must have fallen asleep, safe and comfortable in the mind of my wolf. Because all of a sudden I began to stir, as though I had been woken in a panic by someone shaking me furiously. We're here, Silk said, invading my mind with her determined voice. I don't know where we are, but Derek's scent is stronger than ever inside this place. Without hesitation, I pushed myself forward inside Silk's mind and took control. Our bodies shifted once again, and the wolf changed back into my human body. Landing on my feet, I studied the building I had been presented in front of. It was like nothing I had ever seen in these woods before, and I had been through this area many times. A derelict cabin, nestled beneath the overgrowing plant life which had started to encase it. Vines creeping up the side, some of the windows were smashed. Very little care was taken to this home, and I wondered who it belonged to and how long it had been unoccupied for it to get into this state. I'm here if you need me, Silk said inside my mind. Be cautious, Haley. I entered the house. The front door hung off its hinges, which made it easier for me to get inside. The rooms inside were dark and filthy. This place must have been emptied decades ago. The floorboards creaked as I treaded lightly across the floor, keeping alert at the surroundings around me, aware of any movement. The scent of Derek stung my nose the more I traveled deeper into the house. He was definitely in here. I just had to make sure I found him before he found me. As I shifted down the hallway, making sure I kept my steps light, I peered into each room as I passed. Luckily, this home was small and had only one floor, so there weren't too many rooms to explore. If the scent of Derek wasn't distracting my senses, I knew the stench of rotten, stale food would probably make me nauseous. So I managed to stay focused on my nose, leading me with Derek's familiar smell. The last room lay at the end of the hallway, and I knew he had to be in there. It was the final place I had looked. The closer I got, I noticed I could hear scuffling coming from inside the room. "Just shut up," I heard Derek mutter. "Why do you have to be so fucking awkward?" I peered around the doorway, only to witness Derek wrapping ropes around Alyssa's wrists as he tied her to a wooden rickety chair. I watched as he dropped to his knees, parting her legs before restraining one ankle to each of the front chair legs. "You know, in any other situation this would be so sexy," Derek said with a chuckle. "Tying you up to a chair with your legs apart." He paused. "Perhaps I should have undressed you first." "You sick fuck." Alyssa replied coldly at his disgusting comment. "I'd rather die." "Oh, you will die. That's one thing I can promise you," Derek said. "Just not yet. I'm not ready to let you go right now." This was it. I had to be brave and confront Derek. This was my time to save Alyssa and release her from the awful dark clutches of Derek Charlton. "Derek, let her go," I said, entering the room. My eyes burned fiercely into him as I made myself appear as threatening as I could. I had to prove to Derek I wasn't weak anymore, not as weak as he assumed anyway. "Oh fucking hell," Derek groaned. "You again. Why are you so obsessed with me? Leave me alone." "I'm not obsessed with you," I said, gritting my teeth so hard I felt my jaw ache. "I want my best friend back safe, away from you." As I looked at Alyssa, I saw the happiness in her eyes. The shine had returned, and I hadn't seen her look at me with such affection in a long while. I knew this would be the strength I needed now, to release Alyssa from Derek's clutches. "I won't tell you again, Derek," I said with force in my voice. "Let Alyssa go." Derek laughed, his tone mocking me, which made my fury increase by the second. "Oh, you are funny," he said. "I have no intention on letting her go." I watched as he pulled a sharp blade from his pocket, and as he walked around to the back of Alyssa's chair, he placed the blade to her neck. "After I have what I want from this bitch, I will be disposing of her. So don't get too attached, my love." The anger boiled inside me now, and with instinct I charged toward Derek, intending on grabbing that knife and making sure I redirected it so it sunk into his heart. I wanted him dead, and I knew I had to be the one to kill him. But Derek was ahead of me again. He predicted my movements, and I felt his fist push into my head. My body cracked to the ground, and I felt the pain sear through me as my head bashed onto the hard ground. Everything began to grow dark around me, until my vision turned black completely. Alyssa's POV. My eyelids felt like heavy weights were attached to them as I struggled to open my eyes. I could smell a putrid scent of what I only imagined was what death smelt like. I managed to open my eyes, my vision blurry as I began to focus on my surroundings. But once again, I would fall back into a slumber. It was then my body shocked itself awake once more, and my eyes adjusted to the darkness around me. As I studied my surroundings, I could gather I was in a derelict-looking room. Wooden panels hung off the walls, while the remaining pieces of furniture were in ruins. Making an attempt to move, it was then I remembered my arms were restrained behind my back. My ankles ached with the force of the rope tightened around them, and the memory came back to me of Derek Charlton bringing me to this cabin and forcing me in the room. I began to panic. I wanted to scream out, but my throat had tightened from the fear. I thought about Travis and wondered if he was safe. I just needed to know my husband was alive and not in any danger. "Come on, Lise, you have to pull yourself together," I told myself, trying to be my own cheerleader. There must be something I could. It was then I noticed the body by the wall to my left, and even though her face was flat on the ground, I knew by her hair and clothes who it was. "Haley," I said, trying to keep my voice at a low whisper so I didn't alert Derek. "Haley, wake up!" My voice strained through the effort. Haley asked, moving her head to the side so I could see her features. Her eyes were heavy as mine were, and her skin pale in complexion. "Lise?" "Yeah, it's me," I said. "Are you okay? Can you move?" Haley grunted as she rolled herself over. She held her hands out slightly to reveal restraints around her wrists. But I noticed her legs hadn't been tied up. She was free to move them if she could. "Can you shift into your wolf?" I asked in hope. Having Haley change into her wolf form would allow her to be free from the ropes and help us escape. Haley shook her head. "No, I think these ropes are laced with something. I can't even talk to Silk. It's like she isn't there anymore." I watched as Haley's eyes filled with tears, and I only imagined not having your wolf present in your mind was like losing part of you. From what I had read from my studies on werewolves, your wolf was part of you from the moment you bond with them. "All right," I said, releasing a deep exhale as I made an attempt to control my panic. "We need to think of a way to get out of here." My eyes studied the window at my side. "I can see a crack in that window. If we force it open, there's no use." Haley said in defeat, "Derek has this place surrounded with his men. If we escape, they will catch us. I can smell them everywhere." "Ah," I said with disappointment. "I can see where that would be an issue." I paused. "Can you feel your legs? You aren't numb or anything?" Haley began to move her legs, and she started to sit up. Struggling somewhat, I watched as she slumped her back against the wall, exhausted with the effort. "I can move at least. My legs are fine." She paused. "Maybe if I can stand up, I can find a way to cut the ropes." It was then we both took our attention to the door. Footsteps grew closer, and the jiggle of the doorknob put fear in me. I felt a shiver of terror run down my spine as I watched the door open. It creaked with the effort, and Derek appeared from the other side. "I thought I heard voices," Derek said with a smirk. "Are you girls enjoying your slumber party?" "Go fuck yourself," Haley said, her eyes burning as she seared into Daryl with her gaze. "Why can't I feel my wolf? What did you do with Silk?" Derek chuckled. "Oh, my love, that's my little secret. Those ropes around you have been treated with something special to make sure you don't have the help from your inner bitch." He paused, taking his eyes to Alyssa. "I knew you would come looking for Alyssa, like a good little guard dog, so I made sure I was prepared to keep you on your leash." "Let her go," I said, my voice begging Derek as I tried to save Haley's life. "You've got me now. Just free Haley and I'll do anything you say." "A tempting offer, my dear," Derek said, taking steps closer to me. His eyes studied me, and I knew what he was thinking. He was looking at me like I was a piece of meat. "But I want both of my toys here to play with. This is my playroom now, and you're my pretty little dolls." "What do you think you're even getting out of this?" Haley asked. "Keeping us here. You know there are people who are out looking for us." Derek chuckled once more, seeming unfazed by Haley's threats. "I will continue with my plan, to marry Alyssa so I gain the respect of my father, and access his wealth and become the true ruler of the Dark Heart Pack." He paused. "And once I am done with her, once I have impregnated her and made an heir, I will end her life." A wicked smirk formed on his lips. "Imagine, the alpha of the Dark Heart Pack, having his heart smashed into pieces as his Luna Alyssa up and leaves with no word. Everyone will feel sorry for me." Derek spoke about me like I wasn't there, and I felt my entire body shudder with his words. He was disgusting, thinking he could treat me like this, as though I was nothing. I watched as Haley broke eye contact with me, and she seemed to change her demeanor. The fire in her eyes, which burned through her fury, seemed to settle. A sparkle shimmered in her eyes now, and she appeared to look at Derek as though he was the love of her life. I had seen that look in her before, and it began to worry me. "Please," Haley begged. She moved onto her knees and began to crawl closer to Derek. "I love you. I want to be with you." She paused, and I watched Derek peer down at Haley, as though she was something disgusting he had stood in. Haley landed at his feet now, sitting by his side like a dog as her eyes peered up at him, her dew-like eyes begging for his mercy and love. "I don't care if you marry Alyssa. I still want to be with you. I will always love you, no matter how many times to reject me or push me away. My heart burns for you, and only you." I was left with a feeling of immense confusion. Feeling unsure if Haley was bluffing to distract Derek, or she had changed her mind again and wanted to be by his side. I had hoped she was bluffing, but it was hard to tell. My stomach twisted with sickness. I was led to believe I could have my friend return to me, but she was falling for Derek Charlton all over again. Derek's POV. I love you, Haley begged once more. You loved me once, I know you did. I scoffed at Haley's comment. This bitch was frustrating the hell out of me now. She begged like a cheap dog, at my knees like a weak heap of nothing. Kill her, Nova husked in my mind as he appeared from the shadows. Look at her, she's pathetic. Tempting, I said in return. She is rather embarrassing me right now in front of my future wife. I paused. If I kill Haley, she will be out of my way for good, Nova chuckled. Then there's a perfectly good reason to end her miserable life, so you and Alyssa won't have to worry about her meddling ways any longer. But I still want to play with her, I said, my eyes dropping to Haley's breasts. Maybe I can have my fun before I end her life. It would be a waste not to. That's a good point, Nova said. Have your fun, and then toss her aside, just like the rest of your toys. You make me sound like a spoilt child wolf, I said to Nova, unhappy with his choice of words. I am nothing like that. Nova laughed deeply. A little defensive, are we, Derek? I'm sorry to have pressed your sore spot. I pushed Nova to the back of my mind. I didn't need his opinion right now. After all, it had been a while since I had been completely relaxed from the use of a woman, and if Haley was throwing herself at me, then why not take advantage of this situation? Stand up, I said, placing my fingers under Haley's chin. You look pathetic on your knees. No Luna of mine will look so weak. El Luna? Haley asked as she stood to her feet, and I noticed her eyes sparkle with hope. Do you really mean that, Derek? I turned my eyes to Alyssa, curious of her reaction. Her face hasn't changed in its expression, but she still remained disgusted at me. I let out a low chuckle. What do you think, my love? Are you feeling a bit of competition if I promised Haley the role of my Pax Luna as well? No, Alyssa said sharply. You're both welcome to each other. The idea of being married to you makes me vomit in my mouth. Why not be honest about it? I said, mocking Alyssa. I turned my eyes back to Haley and wrapped my hands around her waist, pulling her into me. I'm glad you came to your senses, Haley. Placing my lips on Haley's, I felt her warmth as she kissed me back eagerly. Haley pulled away from the kiss, her hands gripping into my hips with desperation. How about we go and have some fun? Her eyes suggested how much she wanted me now. It's been a while since we've been together, hasn't it? It has, I said in response. What if we had sex here and let Alyssa watch? I paused as my eyes shifted behind Haley and over to Alyssa. You'd like that, wouldn't you, Alyssa? To watch me fuck Haley. It would make you miss me. I don't think I would want to see anything less. Thank you, Alyssa responded with disgust, and I watched her face grow paler at the very idea. If you're going to mess around, do it as far away as you can. Haley turned to Alyssa, her eyes searing into her with jealousy. Stop your complaining, she paused, pulling herself closer to me. Her possessive behavior was kind of endearing, and it made me realize this woman would do anything for me. You would count yourself lucky seeing Derek make love to me, but I can't have you wanting him again. Derek is mine. I could feel Haley's anger as she spat her words toward Alyssa, and I had to admit it aroused me further. Are you sure, Alyssa? I asked. You don't want to watch me pleasure your best friend? She isn't my best friend. Alyssa responded through gritted teeth, and I could hear the anger in her voice. Haley is dead to me. I don't care what either of you do as long as it's leaving me and Travis alone. Travis is dead, Haley said coldly. You'll never be happy with him again. You've got no one now. I chuckled, enjoying how cruel Haley was acting toward Alyssa now. This was the evil streak to Haley I missed. Her hatred for Alyssa was showing once again, and I knew this was a trait that would make her strong once more. Perhaps I could take Haley as my Luna after all. Maybe I had judged her far too harshly. Very well, I shrugged. You had your chance, but don't come begging when you realize you want me again. I paused as my eyes wandered Alyssa's body. You've had your chance. Let's forget about the trash for now, Haley said in a cruel tone. A wicked chuckle escaped her lips. I want to give you the treatment you deserve, Derek. I want to make you feel good. Haley took my hand and wrapped her fingers around me tightly. She began to walk toward the door, her footsteps eager as she trod quickly across the squeaky floorboards. I took one last look at Alyssa and gave her a smug smirk. "See you soon." Haley led me out of the room, and I closed the door behind me. I could be kind enough to keep some heat in the room for her, and try to dampen the sounds of the pleasure I would be gifting Haley with any moment now. "Let's go in here," Haley said, leading me through the door of the room directly next to where Alyssa was. "I can't wait to get my paws on you, gorgeous." "In here?" I asked, closing the door behind me as we entered the room. "Won't Alyssa hear us? You know how I make you scream." Haley smirked, an impish, filthy expression on her lips as she started to pull her top over her head. "I want her to hear," she husked. "I want Alyssa to know what I have, and she doesn't." Haley's POV. "I forgot how good you feel," Derek grunted, his eyes set on me. "Don't I know it," I said with a sly smirk. "He's distracted," Silk said in my mind. "Don't get too carried away now. I know it feels incredible, but we can't get distracted." "I know, Silk," I said in response to my wolf. "I know," Silk said with a sigh, "but think of Alyssa. We need to save her. Remember the trust you're trying to gain in your friendship once more." I knew Silk was right. She always was. Derek was distracted. His vision blackened as his face was still buried in my chest, and I made sure I held him tightly against me. I freed my other hand and fumbled around my jeans, feeling for the dagger I had picked up from the ground without Derek realizing. "Quick thinking on taking the knife," Silk said with pride in her voice. "Now stab him." "I need to be subtle," I said to Silk. "I can't let Derek see I have his knife. Be patient." It was then I realized I hadn't made much sound in a while, and I didn't want Derek to question why I wasn't enjoying myself, so I let out a pleasured moan. "Derek," I gasped. As I spoke, I carefully pulled the knife to Derek's side and leant over slightly to choose a spot to stab him. "Should I go for the heart?" I asked Silk in a panic. Now I was ready to make my move. I had to be quick to choose the move while I had the chance. Straight into his cold, cruel heart. I tried to figure out how I would gain access to his chest, with Derek pulled so close to me. "Not the heart," Silk said quickly. "Slip it in his lower side. The blade will sink in easier and less obvious." She paused. "By the time Derek realizes, he will be already bleeding to death." "Right? Got it," I said, nodding to myself. I pressed the knife carefully into Derek's side. "Here?" I asked Silk, hoping she would reply as soon as possible. Derek was beginning to pull away. I could feel him forcing his head against my hand, which pushed his face into me. "Yes, there! You got it!" Silk said with unusual excitement in her voice. "Okay, ready to go?" I said to my wolf, and as I was about to push the knife into Derek's side, he pulled himself away from me. Derek's eyes burned into me, and I wondered if he had suspected something. "My turn on top," Derek husked sexily, and just in time I managed to pull the knife behind my back and out of his sight. Derek grabbed my waist and twisted me around, so I landed suddenly on my back. I cried out as the pain of landing on my arm seared through me, but Derek ignored my cries of pain. Whatever Derek thought I cried for, I could tell by the look in his eyes he enjoyed it. I tried to think quickly, and I managed to free my arm and pull my hand to his back, my fingers tight around the knife. I could feel the pain of the numbness as I laid my weight on my arm, but I powered through and slid the tip of the knife to Derek's side once more. "You have him," Silk husked. "Now take the plunge." It was then I was about to push the blade into Derek's side. I fantasized about how easily the knife would slip into his flesh, and I ached to hear him scream in pain. Beg for his life while I twisted the knife deeper inside him, and I found myself getting a little exhilarated at the thought of giving this man what he deserved. "What are you doing?" Silk asked in panic. "Hurry up, stab him." Derek used his strength to pull his head away from my grip, his eyes searing into mine. "You're a little slut, aren't you?" I felt myself succumbing to Derek once more. "Does that feel good?" he asked. "Is my little slut satisfied?" "Yes," I gasped. "Harder, I want to feel you." The sensation of Derek's entire body against mine, enough to drive me wild with passion and want. "Haley, you need to focus," Silk said. "Snap yourself out of this. You're becoming weak." It was then I caught the glint of the blade in the corner of my eye and was brought back to the real task in hand. I was about to sink the blade into Derek's side when I heard the slam of the door opening. Derek stopped and jumped off me with haste. It was then I looked toward the door and saw the familiar face of Travis Darlington standing watching us, a look of horror on his face, as though he tried to register what he had walked into. "Haley," Travis grunted, "I knew I couldn't trust you." Travis's POV. "I knew it," I growled internally to my wolf. "My suspicions are proven correct right here, right now." "That two-faced little bitch," Clayton responded, anger in his tone. "Tear her to shreds before she gets to Alyssa." He paused. "Where is Alyssa?" My heart pounded in my chest, realizing I had found these two before finding out if Alyssa was safe and alive. "I've got this," Henry entered my mind, and it was then I realized he had disappeared from my side. "Alyssa is fine. You take care of what you need to." "Thanks, buddy," I responded to Henry, feeling relief as my best friend had my back. My attention turned back to Clayton. "Are you ready for a fight? Because I'm giving them one." "I'm as ready as I'll ever be," Clayton said in enthusiastic response. "Let's do this." Within seconds, I was leaping toward the pair, ready to attack. I could feel Clayton in the forefront of my mind, ready for his turn to unleash and tear the pair to shreds. I went for Haley first, pushing her off the bed, and I pinned her to the ground viciously. I raised my hand, ready to swipe her across the face when I saw her eyes change. They seemed to beg for mercy, shimmering with sadness. "It's not me you want," Haley said. "I was." She paused, gesturing to the knife in her hand. "I was trying to kill Derek." I took my eyes toward the blade she held, and I loosened my grip onto her. Perhaps she was telling the truth after all. "I believe you for now," I grunted. "Only because I'm here for Alyssa. Where is she?" It was then I heard Alyssa scream. I knew that tone of terror anywhere. It was instinct built into me that when my mate was in danger, I could sense it. Leaping to my feet, I noticed the bed was empty. Derek had escaped, and I heard the sound of a tussle in the hallway. "Alyssa!" I cried out her name, running out of the room and down the hall where I saw Derek and Henry were locked into a fight. "I'm coming for you, baby!" A growl simmered in my throat, and I lunged my shoulder into Derek's face as I forced my way through, knocking him to the ground as I went. I felt Derek's face crack against my strength as I smashed into him. "Are you all right?" I asked Henry, placing my hands on his shoulders as I inspected the fresh injury across his eye. "Like a slash across his flesh. Can you see?" "I'm fine," Henry husked. "You need to get Alyssa out of here. I can handle Derek." "I'm not leaving you to take Derek on," I said with panic in my voice. I looked down at Derek, who was beginning to stir. "We need to get Alyssa and leave." I paused. "Get Hale and let's get out of here." Henry rushed past me, heading back into the room I had left to ensure Haley was safe. Happy knowing he was able to manage the task in hand, I continued on to the room Alyssa was in. As I passed Derek, I slammed my boot into his gut as hard as I could before taking another shot to his face. I want to leave him out cold, to allow us some time to get out of the house. Derek cried out in pain, grabbing his face before passing out once more. I didn't have a lot of time for his accelerated healing to kick in, so I had to be as fast as I could now. "Travis!" Alyssa cried out as she saw me enter the room. I watched as tears flooded her eyes before she sobbed. "Honey, I thought you were dead." "Not yet," I said. Dropping to my knees, I began to untie the rope which restrained her wrists. "I'm here. You're safe." "Where's Derek?" Alyssa asked with panic in her voice. "Travis, I'm so scared of him." "He's having a nap right now," I said, removing the restraints from around her ankles. "This guy really knows how to tie a knot," I said through my struggles, but eventually managed to loosen the rope. "Can you stand?" "I think so," Alyssa said as I pulled her to her feet. She was a little unsteady at first, but managed to find her balance. Within an instant, Alyssa flung her arms around my neck and pressed her lips against mine with a kiss. I think we both feared it may have never happened again. "I love you so much, Travis. Thank you for coming for me." "I love you too," I husked. "Now we need to get out of here." I paused, studying the surroundings and feeling furious that this place was where Derek chose to keep Alyssa. It was disgusting. "Henry is just outside." I paused, hearing the scream of Henry from outside in the hall. I grabbed Alyssa's hand and pulled her out of the room. "You have to be quick, okay? I know you can't keep up with me, but try your best, my love." Alyssa nodded, unable to speak through the fear of Henry's scream, and I watched her skin fall pale as tears flooded her eyes once more. As we left the room, I noticed Derek's body still slumping on the floor. I shifted my gaze ahead of me, where I saw Henry was propped up against the doorway of the second room, holding his arm tightly. "What happened?" I asked Henry, seeing the bleeding wound in his arms. He held tightly onto it, making an attempt to stop the bleeding which soaked his clothing. "Haley," he grunted. "I was trying to help, and she stabbed me." Breathing through the pain, I watched Henry's eyes flicker. "She ran that way." He pointed toward the front door. "We need to stop her. She's dangerous." I felt the fury build inside me now, and I gripped onto Alyssa's hand tighter than ever now. "We need to get out of here," I said with determination. "Leave Derek, forget about Haley for now. I need Alyssa safe at home." "Understood," Henry nodded. "You run as fast as you can, I'll be following. Until I heal more, I can't run too far." "I'm not leaving your side, Henry," I said, refusing to let anyone leave my sight now. "I'll get you both home safe, we just been to be cautious." "Travis," Alyssa said in a shrill tone, "where's Derek?" I turned my eyes to where Alyssa was looking, and I felt a shiver run up my spine. The spot where Derek had once laid was now empty. He had gone, but where? The only exit is in front of us. "We didn't see him leave," I said. "There must be another exit, a secret one." "At the back of the house," Henry grunted. "There must be a way out." "That's not our problem right now," I said, a low growl simmering in my throat. "We have to go. I have to get you both home to safety." I paused. "Be vigilant. Keep your eyes peeled for anything out there. The forest is dangerous." As we left the cabin, I focused on connecting to my warriors. I needed some of them to come to our aid, to help us home. I needed all the help I could get, already fearing myself that we would be hunted and torn to pieces by Derek and Haley in the woods. "Help! I need assistance," I said, reaching out to my pack. "Henry is down. Alyssa is injured and scared. I can't do this on my own." I wasn't willing to admit defeat so easily, but it's something I would eventually come to if I had to do this alone. Travis's POV. "Your Highness, we found you." A gruff yet familiar voice spoke through the darkness. I had to admit, I was pleased to see a warrior so quickly in the woods. I was starting to give up hope already, fearing Alyssa wouldn't make it through the night if we carried on alone. "Frankie," I said, a smile playing on my lips. "Thank you. You don't know how relieved I am to see you." Frankie had always been my most loyal warrior. He was strong and stood incredibly tall at 6 feet 7 inches. His body was broad and threatening, just what I needed from a protector. Frankie nodded. Carrie was following, but she appeared to become distracted. His eyes shifted between the trees as he made an attempt to spot her. "Oh," I said, with fear running through me. Carrie was another of my fiercest warriors. She had fought and trained hard to become loyal toward me. I trusted her and Frankie with my life. "We should find her before anyone else does," I paused. "Derek Charlton is on the loose. I thought we had him, but he escaped. Haley Green is also out there. She isn't to be trusted. Can you help us home safely? Henry is injured and Alyssa is not in a great way." Frankie nodded. "Anything for you, my king." He took Henry's arm and wrapped it across his shoulder. "Come on, fella. You're okay now." Being free of Henry made it easier for me to concentrate on Alyssa. I scooped her up in my arms and began to carry her through the dark woods. "We'll be home in no time," I said, more hopeful than I was a few moments ago. "Thank you, Frankie." Frankie nodded. "I'm just doing my duty for my king." His face lay expressionless as he focused on the woods ahead. As we trudged through the wet, soiled ground of the woods, avoiding sharp branches as we went, I couldn't help but become alarmed by a shrill scream in the distance. It was then I heard fast footsteps coming closer toward us, and as I squinted at the shapes ahead between the trees, I recognized the two figures who appeared to be locked into a tussle. "Your Majesty!" A voice called. "Stay where you are!" "Carrie!" Frankie said with alert. "Carrie, are you all right?" We took our speed faster, arriving before the two shapes who now showed themselves to be Carrie and Haley. Carrie had captured Haley into a vicious arm lock, twisting it behind her as she crashed to her knees. "That hurts, you bitch!" Haley growled, trying her best to fight her way from Carrie's grip, but she failed from the warrior's strength. "You need to talk," I said, threat in my voice. Before I rip your throat out, I set Alyssa carefully onto the ground, who was led to safety by Frankie. Please, Haley begged. You have to believe me. I'm with you. I want Derek dead. If that's so, then why did you attack my beta? My best friend, I asked, my jaws clenching through my gritted teeth. If you're an ally, why are you acting so hostile? I was frightened, Haley said, her eyes shifting to Henry as I caught her noticing his injury. I didn't mean to attack Henry. I thought he was Derek, and I— Save your pathetic excuses for when they're really important, I said, interrupting Haley's words. I turned to Carrie. Are you able to keep her restrained while we get her home? I definitely can, Your Majesty, Carrie said with determination. For a she-wolf, Haley is weak, she paused, a smirk forming on her lips. This should be easy peasy. I nodded, taking my eyes to Frankie. We need to get home as quickly as possible now. I want Haley sent to the elders before Derek is given a chance to interfere. I paused, my eyes shifting between Carrie and Derek now. Haley will be locked up as soon as we arrive home. I will then decide what to do with her. Please, Haley begged once more. I was trying to save Alyssa. You have to believe me. I'm not working with Derek any longer. You need to keep your trap shut before I decide to end you right here in these woods. I paused, feeling my blood boil through my anger. I like to think I am a merciful leader, and I will give you the benefit of the doubt when we arrive home. But don't test me, Green. I will snap your neck where you stand. It was then Haley instantly silenced. I saw the fear in her eyes as she realized I wasn't joking now. I gestured for Frankie to give Alyssa back to me, and I took her swiftly back into my arms. I watched Alyssa drift in and out of a slumber. She was becoming weak, and my priority now was to get her home to bed where I could nurse her better. How are you feeling? I asked Henry, who seemed somewhat perkier than before. Can you stand on your own? Henry nodded. I feel right as rain now, Travis. He paused, ready to kick some more ass. I chuckled. Good, that's what I want to hear. I paused, taking my eyes between Henry and Frankie. I need one of you to run back to the house and alert more warriors. I need a sweep of this woods to cover every single inch to catch Derek Charlton. I don't want him anywhere near my house and loved ones. Frankie stepped forward. I'll go, Your Highness. He paused. I can run swiftly in my wolf form. I'll gather a search party of your most skilled hunters and we will find Derek before he causes any more damage. Thanks, Frankie, I said with a smile. You go now. The sooner you're back, the better. I paused in thought. Ensure some of my staff are ready and waiting for us. I need Alyssa's care prepared. A bath run, food cooked, and her bed made. Yes, my king, Frankie said with a nod. Please, stay safe and alert in the woods. I nodded and returned to Frankie. We will see you soon. It was then Frankie shifted into his large wolf form and zipped off between the trees in a flash, leaving nothing but paw prints in the mud and the stirring of leaves on the ground. It won't be long, my love, I said, whispering into Alyssa's ear as she drifted off again. Derek will be long gone before you know it. I'm not letting him harm you again. Alyssa's POV. Your Highness, are you okay? As soon as we entered our home, we were accosted by warriors. They were surrounding the house, inside and out, and I had never seen a force like this before. As good as can be, Travis said in return to the warrior she-wolf. How are things here? Okay for now, the warrior responded with a serious expression to her face. We sent a group out into the woods, and it wasn't long before Derek was spotted. What, already? Travis asked. I honestly thought it would take longer than that. He paused, taking his eyes to me. Alyssa, darling, I need to go back into the woods and help capture Derek. But, I whined, not wishing to lose my husband again. Can you leave them to it? I just got you back. I knew a pout sat on my lips. I'm sorry, Alyssa, but I won't rest until I know Derek is our prisoner with my own eyes. He paused. A deep sigh escaped him. I dislike this as much as you do, but please trust me. Very well, I said in retreat. But hurry back to me, okay? Travis smiled as he ran his fingers through my dark hair. His mysteriously beautiful eyes set on me before leaning in to place a loving kiss on my lips. I will send Henry. I want him to keep a close eye on you. But for now, enjoy yourself in the bath with some rest and relaxation. I will make sure my staff take good care of you. I had to admit, I didn't really care for having people around me tending to my every need. I just wanted some time alone, to relax myself without having a constant eye on me. Sure, I said, not wanting to cause any further trouble. I love you. Take care of yourself. I love you too, Alyssa, Travis said before placing a second kiss on my lips. It was then he turned on his feet and left the house with haste, and I knew he would be heading straight back into the woods. I started to make my way up the stairs. My only want right now was to get into a steaming hot bath, and then get into my own bed. As I climbed the stairs, there were guards, not only standing at the bottom of the staircase, but two were on guard at the top as well. I made awkward eye contact with them, and even though I gave them a faint smile, they didn't reciprocate my gesture. "My lady," a voice chirped before me, and I saw a petite woman appearing from my bedroom, and I recognized it to be one of Travis's maids. I hadn't become acquainted with most of his staff yet, as they barely seemed to be around, but I remember this one from when I first moved in. She would tend to the bedrooms mostly. "Angelina?" I asked, quickly remembering her name. "Am I correct? I'm sorry, I am awful at remembering names sometimes." Angelina nodded with a smile, the kind of smile that caused her eyes to sparkle. "Well remembered, my lady. Is there anything you need me to do?" I shook my head, less with the my lady stuff. I laughed, trying to ease this moment. "Call me Alyssa, please." I paused. "And I'm quite all right. I know Travis asked you to take care of me, but I would rather have some time alone." "Understood," Angelina said with a swift nod. "At least let me run you a bath, my la." She paused. "Alyssa, nice save," I said with a chuckle. "All right, but that's all you're doing for me tonight. Give yourself the night off after this." "Roger, Roger," Angelina said with a grin. "Give me a moment to warm your bath, and then I will call you." She paused, gesturing toward the bedroom. "Please make yourself comfortable in the meantime." I did as Angelina told me, and waited in the bedroom for her to run my bath, and it wasn't long until the maid called me to make me aware the bath was prepared. I was alone now. Angelina had gone, and everything fell quiet. I knew there were a few guards inside the house, but also they wouldn't make any noise, so it felt as though I had the place to myself. As I was about to shrug off the robe which curled around my body, I heard a loud crash coming from downstairs. I felt myself panic, pulling the robe back to my body as I tied the belt back around my waist. I knew I had to investigate the noise. I had to make sure everything was safe in the house, or else I wouldn't be able to relax at all. Making my way down the stairs, I noticed the guards who were once there no longer stood on guard, which was odd. Why had they left their post so suddenly? I heard another crash and a yell coming from the same direction. I tried to compose myself, my heart pulsing in my ears from the fear, but I had to keep going to see what was happening in my home. It was then, stepping into the kitchen, I first saw the wide, fearful eyes of Henry. And then I noticed the familiar tall redhead who had haunted my mind while I slept for so many nights. "Alyssa, get back! Get help!" Henry cried, sinking to his knees with a crash. "You need to get back." Harmony grabbed his hair, her eyes on me as she produced a knife from her back. "Welcome home, dear Alyssa," she laughed coldly. "I expect you thought Henry would be here to keep you safe while your love was away." A wicked glint in her eye began to turn my stomach. "But Travis isn't here at all, is he? He's left you all alone." "Step away from Henry," I said, my voice shaking. And it was then I watched Harmony push the knife to Henry's throat. "Please, don't do that. I'll do anything you want." My voice cracked with the fear that this woman instilled in me now. "Alyssa," Henry struggled as he spoke. Harmony had her grip tight on him now. "Run, you need to." Henry's words were cut off by the sound of gurgles as Harmony dragged the sharp blade across his neck. The open wound slid across his neck, from ear to ear as blood began to cascade from the wound. Henry's eyes were still on me, wide and panicked, as he began to grasp at the wound. Harmony released him from her grip, her laugh cruel as she watched him desperately try to save himself. But it wasn't long before Henry fell forward and smashed face first into the tiled floor. His blood began to puddle around him as he bled to death. I felt the tears begin to fall from my eyes, soaking my cheeks. My throat burned with the fear and rage which enveloped me, and my vision began to blur from the stress of this situation. "Why are you doing this, Harmony?" I asked, my voice croaking as I tried to form words. I wanted to go over and tend to Henry, to try and stop the bleeding as I called the emergency services. Harmony was too close to Henry for me to get to him without her harming me. "Why are you torturing me? I've done nothing wrong." "You've done everything wrong, human bitch," Harmony said, a growl boiling in her throat. "Travis and I were meant to be together, to live a happy life, and you had to come in and ruin it." She paused as her chest heaved. "And now I'm going to ruin your life before I end it once and for all," she paused. "I will end the life of everyone Travis loves until he only has me left," she chuckled, bringing her tongue to the blade coated in Henry's blood. She slid her tongue along its surface, lapping up the red liquid with pleasure. "And then Travis will have no choice but to be with me." This woman was sick, beyond words. This was it. My life was over. This is how I would die.